Welcome back to Dugga Dugga Duckman and VW Garage. I'm your host, the Digga Digga Duckman. That was stupid. I don't know why I did it, but something different. Right behind me here we have 1956 Beetle, also known as Eleanore. That's right, I kind of got the tripod set up in a goofy way today. I don't know if it's making the video any better or less shaky or what the hell the deal is here. I'm actually holding it by my hand, which is kind of giving a weird effect, as you can notice there. So anyway, besides that, we're going to be working on this engine a little more today, but I'm on very, very limited time. So we're going to try to make a couple of little breakthroughs on this thing. We're going to put a little oil in it. We're going to crank it over, see if we can get some oil pressure. And we're also going to check for a spark today and set the timing. And if we get lucky with those things done, with a little bit of dribble of fuel in there, there's a good possibility we can get it to light off. So let's see what we can do today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to pluck that dingleberry. And don't forget to click the likey button. Thanks for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it. Duckman Cycles VW Garage on the Facebook group page. If you'd like to email me, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Thanks for watching. Be back right after the intro. Okay, well, we're back. The first thing we're going to want to start out with is let's put oil in an engine. I got a lot of reminders about that. Thank you, you guys. I wasn't going to forget. But yes, it definitely needs to put oil in it. It definitely needs to be the first thing. Let's go ahead and get this camera set up here and you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, I don't like this oil filler that's on here. This is some aftermarket thing. Not really a fan. But you want to get a funnel that goes in past the little vent. And the reason why is if you just pour oil in here, it's going to dump right out of there and all over your engine. Now, of course, if you have the hose in there, which I don't have yet, it'll dump on the ground instead. But either way, you're wasting your oil. You don't want to do that. So, we got the funnel in there. It's past that point. We can now pour oil into this engine. Alright, here we go. First one here, got 1 quart. Volkswagen engines, I believe, take 2.7 quarts of oil. Once they're running and I check the dipstick, usually I found that it's a little low. So sometimes I wind up putting about 3 quarts in there. Now there's a lot of debate as to exactly when you should check the dipstick, if the engine's running or not running or what have you. But yeah, I do check it when it's running and when it's not running. When it's running, it always seems to be a little bit lower because what happens is the oil splashes around the engine. It goes a lot of other places. So I like to have the oil level in the pan up a little higher at that time. Alright, there's our first quart. There's also a lot of debate as to what oil you're supposed to put into these things. The instruction manual calls for 30 weight, and this is 30 weight oil. Some people cry and whine to high hell that that's wrong, but you know, the instruction manual recommends it, so it's good enough for me. Okay, a little more in there. I'm checking the measurement on the side of the oil bottle to determine how much I put in there. Of course, we'll do the final checking with the dipstick. Okay, that should give us a little over 2.5. Should put us close to 2.7. That's my phone binging and bonging. That's got to be my lunch date. Alright, we're going to let the oil drip out of that funnel for another moment, and then we're going to check the dipstick in a second here. Let me grab a rag so we can wipe it down. Where the hell is my rag? Man, this stuff is always right immediately in my work area, and then it's always not there when you need it. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright, we're just above the low line. So we still need to put a little more in there. Now it's still probably settling, so we probably should give it another minute before we start dumping a ton more into it. But it definitely needs some more. maybe even up to a quart more. I thought I put 2.5 in there, but maybe the measurement on the side of the bottle isn't quite accurate. Let's see what that does to it. I hear the ducks fighting inside. Boomer is always pissing off Skeeter. Alright, that's more like it. That brings us up to the, almost up to the top line. Once we run it, of course, as I said, it's going to go down. Yeah, it's still coming up higher. Okay, I think we're good in the oil department. Let's go ahead and get our cap back on there. Alright, the next thing we got to check is our timing. I made a mess here. Even with a funnel, I still spill. And I'm going to have to go reprimand the ducks because they are misbehaving. We'll be right back. One of the first things that you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to make sure that you're at top dead center, or at least close to it. Top dead center is defined as cylinder number 1 at the top of its compression stroke. And you can determine that by looking at the valves. Check out the rockers right there. Both of them are currently pushed out. So what that would mean is that cylinder number 1 is currently on top dead center. I don't have a wire in front of my lens here. Here we go. Now we want to look up inside of that distributor and find out if it's actually pointing towards cylinder number 1, which is where I've got that spark plug wire currently going to. And yes, it is. Now some distributors actually have a marking on it, and it's just like a little scratch mark. Sometimes it's part of the casting, sometimes it looks like somebody actually etched it on there. But that is cylinder number 1, and it's marked on that distributor. Now this is what appears to be a 009. In fact, yeah, it's a 009 distributor. I don't particularly favor these. A lot of people don't, because these are more for like a German industrial engine, for something that'll run like a generator or a compressor where they run at a constant RPM all the time. But on a street-driven vehicle where you're constantly raising and lowering the RPMs, these tend to have a bit of a stumble and have difficulty advancing properly. The car runs smoothly and evenly. A vacuum advanced distributor is a much better option. Today we're just going to hook this one up and get this one put in here because it's already here. I do have a vacuum advanced distributor in a box. It needs to be rebuilt. I will be rebuilding that, and it will wind up on here eventually. But as far as timing is concerned, at least static timing anyway, which is what we're doing today, it's all the same stuff. But now that we've got the distributor open, we want to pop off the rotor button. We want to look down inside, and I'm going to move that camera so you guys can see what we're looking at. Now, since we determined where top dead center is, we actually want to set it to 7.5 degrees before top dead center. Now, you see the 10 degree mark. Top dead center will be 0 degree mark. The 7.5 will be right about here. Now, that marking is kind of worn off of this. If you do have a stock pulley, you can actually find the marking on there. You see it right there. There's also the 10 degree marking next to it. You could use a 10 degree marking to advance your timing a little bit additionally. It gives you a little more power and a little more pep, but at the compromise that the engine is going to make more heat. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Stock is best in most cases, so that's exactly the way we're going to set it. So we want to bring that to about 7.5, and that's by lining up the 7.5 marking with the split in the engine case. So now we're ready to start timing this engine. Okay, you want to loosen the distributor. It's a little 10mm nut right here. So put your ratchet on there, loosen it just enough that the distributor should start to turn. There it is. Now we've already got our crank set to the 7.5mm before top dead center as we've demonstrated. Okay, now that we've got our distributor shaft loose, I disconnected the wire from the points here because it's actually kind of short, and it's going to get in the way when I try to adjust these points. We've got our feeler gauge. This is my crappy old feeler gauge. It's kind of falling apart. A little rusty, but I checked it with a mic and it's still accurate, so we're going to go... that's my work phone. Too bad! I'm currently trying to set my Volkswagen timing. Piss off. I'm going to want to turn this distributor so that way the little swiper that's here on the points comes in contact with one of the highest bumps. This is one of the lobes that's on the distributor shaft. The shaft is actually square-shaped or semi-square. The corners are actually a little bit rounded. But you want to get that in the highest point that you can, and then you're going to want to loosen this screw right here. That's the one that holds the points in place. Put your feeler gauge in the points, and push a little bit, but not enough to actually cause the feeler gauge to twist. And it's kind of critical that you get those points pressed into place, so that way you can tighten the screw back down. Now, point gap is important and we'll get into things like dwell later on. But now the points are actually set to 16 thousandths, and now we're ready to set the timing on this engine. Almost forgot, before we go any further, we actually have to reconnect that wire. Put that back on there. You saw me set the crank at 7.5 degrees before top dead center, which is effectively where we are going to be setting our timing. Now I have here a test light, and this is actually our continuity checker. It's not a regular 12-volt test light. I like these better because you don't have to have your ignition turned on, you don't have to have a battery hooked up, you don't have to have the system, the electrical system in the vehicle working in order to make this work. It's actually fully contained, self-contained, so that's really, really a nice thing to have. What you want to do is you want to take your wire off of the coil, and in my case I'm going to put the continuity checker right into here. Now if you had a 12-volt tester, you would do the same. Because I have a continuity checker, however, this one connects to negative, or in other words ground. So it's just going to go like that. If you had a regular 12-volt one, you'd actually connect it to the positive wire up on the coil and then turn your ignition on. For some reason I'm not grounded to anything at the fuel pump, so that was probably a bad idea. Let's go ahead and find something else here. We're going to clip it right onto the engine case. See if we got continuity now. Now we do. Alright, the problem was, and that's kind of surprising, but the fuel pump is not grounded. Alright, we currently have a light lit. We're going to want to find our cylinder number 1 mark here and turn this until it goes out. As soon as that light goes out, let me turn off my camera light up here so you guys can see it a little better. As soon as that light goes out, you're in time. There it is. That's 7.5 degrees before top dead center. Once again, I'll demonstrate. Go back, turn it forwards. There it is, 7.5 degrees before top dead center. We are now effectively statically timed, as per the Volkswagen manual. Now we can use a timing light on this later to check the maximum advance. We will do that in a later video once this thing is up and running, but this is a great point to get this engine started, and it's now ready to go. Put that negative wire from the condenser back to the negative on the coil. In my case, the distributor is actually interfering here with it. Putting it back on here, and then we drop our distributor cap right back in place. Ooh, don't do that yet. You almost saw the Duckman make a mistake. You gotta put the rotor back on there. Okay, put the clips back in position. You can clip this shut. And the last and most critical step, if you want to tighten up the 10mm nut that's down here. There we go. Get this test light out of the way. Before I do anything else, I'm going to check my phone and find out exactly why it was beeping, because that was definitely a work-related call. So I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, it actually does turn out that I've got to go on a service call. That phone actually was beeping a bunch more times while I was trying to wrap up things and put my tools away. So yeah, I do have to leave. Unfortunately, I won't be able to finish up this engine today. We do have it in time currently. We do have the oil in it. There's no reason at this point that we shouldn't be able to crank it over, and let's see if we can get some spark. I've got a really good feeling about this engine. I think things are really, really going to work out. So we'll see what happens the rest of the day. If I get back early enough today, I'm going to see if I can fire it over, in which case you won't be watching this part of the video. But if you are watching this video, unfortunately, yeah, I got buried under work and I wasn't going to be able to finish it up today. But thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Give me the licky likey. Don't forget to pluck that dingle belly next to the subscribe button. That way you get updates every time I upload a video. And click that subscribe button. Otherwise the dingle belly doesn't work. Check out Duckman Cycles VW Garage up on the Facebook group page. And don't forget, if you'd like to email me, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Once again, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully with the engine running.